What's up, everybody? Dom here, back at it again with a project so ambitious it makes brain surgery look like assembling IKEA furniture. I've been talking with a bunch of artists lately, and there's a common thread. Finishing a sketchbook is like fighting a hydra. Every page you avoid spawns 2 more YouTube videos that you just watch instead. It's tough. It's like running a marathon where every step is made of self-doubt. Now, I've finished my fair share of sketchbooks over the years, so I'm setting out to finish an entire sketchbook 1 page at a time, with each page being its own episode. And while I'm doing that, I'll be interviewing indie artists about how they wrestled their own sketchbooks. So grab a pen, a paper. This is the Sketchbook Show. This show that I'm working on is talking about starting and finishing sketchbooks, which is a lot of artists' biggest struggle for some reason. I realize that a lot of people start sketchbooks and never finish them. How do you fall on that?
Well, it depends. If it's a large sketchbook, then it takes me a while. I find myself jumping between sketchbooks at most times. So yeah, I can kind of agree with that. A lot of us will start them, and then you'll get this other inspiration. You don't have that book on you, so you won't get another book. So, you got like 5 different books and about 74 sketches.
I had to trade myself to start finishing them. In the beginning, there was just nothing more inspiring than a fresh sketchbook. You do the first 5 pages and then you toss it because you need another freshie. And then for some people like collect sketchbooks, and then just starting the first page is tough. It's like page 1 of a sketchbook is like the first boss in a game, and some people like just draw a loose sketch, and others just stare at the page until it stares back. And then some starting a new sketchbook is like opening a portal to hell with more graphite. So
Yeah.
So what's your mindset when you start a sketchbook?
Well, I kind of let it flow. Like, I'll start like 1 sketch, and I'll never, like, thing with me, whenever I start my sketchbooks, I never do the first page. Like, I'll go like maybe 2 or 3 pages in, like an intro. I'll work from there, and then when the first page sketch comes to me, it usually comes to me after I've already finished like about 4 or 5 pages deep into the book. Now I'm like, okay, now I have an idea of what I want to do. Because that first, to me, the first introduction page on the first page of the sketchbook is the introduction to the rest of the book. So if you got something really hot on there, the rest of the book is going to just pop off. At least that's the idea of it.
That's a really good point. Yeah, the first page really sets the tone, which is why I'm tempted to draw a stick figure screaming into the void. Are there any like rituals or habits that you follow when you start a sketch? Like for me, I need coffee and a YouTube playlist or something.
Yeah, I have this insane alternative hip hop rock music combo that I use, and then I put on like some chick-kind anime in the background. Always have anime in the background, no matter what type of sketch or drawing I'm doing. I'm always using anime, or like I said, I have my music playlist at the same time. Sometimes I'll have both on.
If you get the right anime, you got both, like Samurai Champloo, right?
Yeah, awesome.
Do you dedicate your whole sketchbook to a theme, or do you just like go with the flow? Because I used to separate my sketchbooks. I used to like have 1 for original art, 1 for fan art.
I still do that. I train myself to do that. When I first started out, everything used to be jumbled up on 1 book. And as I got more into learning my craft and honing my skills, I had to buy like 2 different sketchbooks. The first one I used just to do like sketches for my characters that I was working on at that time. And the second one would be used for fan art. As I got more into it, that's what I started doing.
How do you handle like creative slumps or dry spells?
That's kind of funny. I watch a lot of action movies. That's my go-to. When I get in a slump, I'll go outside, I'll go take a walk in parks and stuff like that. Or like, I live in New York, so I'll ride like ferry or go to one of the parks and sit there and watch kung fu movies and just take in the sights.
I feel that when you live in the very city that every superhero story takes place in, it is super inspirational.
It definitely is, my man. I've actually went through the city and seen, like, because I play video games as well. I've went to some of the landscaping areas, like some of the geographical areas that they have in the books and the games. And I'll go there and try to find where that is in the game. When they did the Spider-Man 2, when that came out, they had a lot of these areas all over it. I'm gonna just take a day. I was in the slump. I was like, I'll just take a day and I'll go and try to discover all the places that I swung to on the game.
How did that go?
If I can just do it. It was exhausting. My stuff's like, Dad, I'm ready to go home.
Did you find any of the places, or do you feel like the game just kind of generalized the city?
Some places were easier to find than others. We never found the Doctor Strange house on Bleecker Street. We walked up and down. I was like, it's not here. it was like a sushi restaurant or something there. I was like, do you have to have the eye on Margo to have it?
The story that you are promoting right now, is it a part of Deuces R Wild?
Yes, it's actually Deuces R Wild episode 2. It's the follow up to the first book, Deuces R Wild.
So what's the elevator pitch for Deuces R Wild?
Deuces R Wild is about a gentleman, a guy named Charles Gorson lost his brother, did an investigation, working for the CIA, and he's now out trying to prove his innocence from committing his brother's death. They said it was a spy, and they called him the spy. So he's now trying to follow up and clear his name, while also trying to find out who murdered his brother. But during this time, it's like a treacherous like game being in the spy world. So as he's trying to find out this, he finds out that he actually has more questions than answers during the adventure that he's taking.
Yeah, I will say there is a lot to love about the story. I mean, first of all, like I noticed like a really epic motorcycle scene in the first book, and drawing motorcycles is like tough. It's one of the toughest things for an artist. I've heard a lot of artists complain about motorcycles, keep references of my own around, you know. I like the blocky style of your artwork because I grew up as a big fan of JRJR, you know, John Romita Jr. Like you say, you walk around the city for inspiration, and that's perfect because like I see the city as a character in this book. Especially I love the opening scene with the taxi driver or the Uber driver with the pizza and the person in the back's like, you're gonna eat that while you're driving. That is a vibe. I love that. And I love that the characters are there's some podcasters in here. It's very relatable. Yeah, I love that about this book. It feels real, and there's not one of the biggest problems with like indie writers that I talk about with my friends all the time is exposition dumping, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of that here. Like you're just like in the world and you're just telling a story, and you don't like over explain anything, and that's like what separates you from like really amateur indie writers, and that's awesome. I really like that.
And Dom, I really appreciate it. Thank you for the compliment, man. Oh man, that was awesome.
Yes. How long does it take for you to get from the sketchbook, for instance, to this finished concept?
So here's the funny thing. Here's the secret of Deuces R Wild. I sit down with my son and we'll watch wrestling and UFC, and we'll come up with the concept right then and there. And then I'll start sketching out on my iPad. And then my son will tell me, Dad, that looks sucky. Try something else. and that is how we come up with the concept. And for the whole time, usually we're talking about 6 months. Like to do the first Deuces R Wild, it took about 6-7 months. To do this second episode, it took about a year and a half. Another one of my favorite artists is Frank Miller. Like I'm a major Frank Miller fan. And you see that sometimes in my work, the block charactering and the shadowing, the way I use a lot of shadows and action scenes. So, you know, I go with that type of thing because Deuces R Wild was like my first major book for lesser known comics. So I wanted to do something that was going to capture the fans, capture the imagination, and really put you into that world where you're no longer reading a book, you're watching a movie. That's why I call it episodes. I don't call it next series or anything like that. I just call it episode 1, episode 2. Because every time I want you to read this book, I want you to feel like your mind just closes out the rest of the world and you just jump into this world of Deuces R Wild.
You work with your son on this?
Yes.
I did already know that, but that is cool. How does that work in the balance?
So Nathan is co-writer and creator of Deuces R Wild. We came up back in 2020 during the pandemic. We came up together and came up with this idea because I was traveling back and forth between New York and the Carolinas, and my son stays up here in New York a lot of time with his mother. We would get on the video chat, and on these long travels that I'd be doing, we'd come up with these ideas. We come up with a character, and this character had to go through a certain thing, and it's like an 8-hour drive. So within that 8-hour drive, we'd come up with a whole entire concept for each character. So one of these stories actually stuck, and every day when we speak, we'd come up with different ideas for this character. I was like, man, that'd be cool to do as a book. So back in 2022, when I met with Mark for Lesser Known Comics, he asked me, did I want to do a book? I really came to myself like, listen, I got an idea. The characters we were coming up with, we could do this and like become something more with this. So Nathan is a gifted writer. When I say that boy is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait to see what he does in the future when he's out on his own doing this stuff, because his creative writing is just above this world grade. Nathan came up with the storyline of him losing his brother. Then I started running with well, what type of villains would he fight? You know, who would be the antagonist during this episode? And then we started coming up with all these weird and amazing fantastic ideas. And I was like, okay, now it's time to put pen to paper. We sat down. Once we started developing the story, I was like, I think I have something here. I think we're on to something. And I gave it to Mark, and Mark was like, wow, run with it. And he gave us free reign to do it. And that's one thing I love about Lesson on Comics. They treat people like humans. They don't teach you like your employee or anything like that. They treat artists like the way they need to be treated. They give you free reign to be as creative as you want to be, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Now, in your writing, do you is there anything like personal that you put into this book, inspired by your own life?
Oh yes, drama creates great food for the mind to create art. I go through a lot of trials and tribulations and go through a lot of adventures. So a lot of that is incorporated in this book. I can't tell you what is and what is not. That's the secret formula, and I'll never tell anybody my secret formula. But I'll just say, I'll give you a taste of the formula. A lot of the work that I do have a lot of realistic characteristics to it that I've already been through. Let's put it like that.
Okay. And what about the podcast inspiration? Are you a podcaster?
I go on a lot of podcasts, and here's the funny thing: that podcast is actually a real podcast. It's a Sports Bros podcast that is created by Eddie Cool. It's ran by Eddie Cool, B Live, and Scotty D, the Money Man Scotty D. There's actually a real live podcast called the Sports Bros Podcast. And these guys are awesome. They gave me the okay to use them in the book because I listen to their podcast all the time, and I think it's extremely funny and comical. I was able to get in touch with Eddie Cool. I've known him since middle school, high school, every school. Him and B Live, I've known these guys forever. I was like, man, would you guys like to be in my book? And it was like, yeah. What we gonna be doing it? I said, it's gonna be funny. and the synergy just kind of fit with the rest of Deuces R Wild. That the way that Nathan and I created the story together, that it was actually able to add them into the flow of the whole entire book all the way through.
What makes this main character stand out?
He's someone that you would want to get to know, whether you're going out to the bar and hanging out, or you're in a fight, or you get to find yourself in some part of this character. He goes through trials and tribulations. Like I said, he's out trying to find the murderer who killed his brother, but the government thinks that he killed his brother. And in a way, he's just trying to figure out where his place is in this organization that he's been working for now that he's been compromised. And he's like, well, I did nothing wrong to you guys. I didn't kill my brother. Maybe you guys should be looking for the killer instead of looking at, the what happened in the situation. So he's just a guy trying to find himself. So I think we all can go to that where we're just trying to find ourselves in this world to make better of who we are. That's where I think we come from with him. As you see, as the story grows and develops more, that you'll see that Charles goes through these type of levels in his, not only his self-conscious, but in his actual actions that he does on a daily basis.
That's perfect. So what kind of readers do you think would love this comic the most?
The demographic we're shooting for is like about, I would say, because it's got a couple of crucial words in it. No, not even flavorful words. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. We got a little bit of flavor to this book, so I would say, the 13 to 34 demographic would be awesome. Heck, you could be 70 years old, read this book, and it calls you funny bone to reactivate. You can read it to your kids, and they're gonna be like, "Well, what's the next story to this?" So I want everybody to just take a chance and give it a chance. You never know a book until you see what's past the cover, and if you like the cover, then you're gonna love the next book that I got coming out. We've really improved a lot on this book for the second episode. For the Kickstarter that's coming, well, the Kickstarter right now is currently between April 15th to May 15th. You can go on my Kickstarter now. We are doing a giveaway for anybody that gets the top tier. There's going to be a giveaway of a figure. I don't know if you can see, but
whoa!
Right, that's right. We have our own figures now for Deuces R Wild, which is amazing. And also, we have name plates.
Oh my god!
Which I got from Whamstamp. Those guys are awesome there, man. The character, if you were to buy the top tier, there's a giveaway. We're giving away about 5 to 6 of these things. So hey, now is the opportunity to get it. You can go to my Deuces R Wild episode 2 on my Kickstarter. Also, you can find me on X, Reece1123, on Instagram, Reece1123, the Lesser Known Comics website. So we're everywhere, right? I hope everybody loves this new book. I'm so excited. My son is excited. We're excited as a whole. We are Venom. I hope everybody enjoys the new book. And we got a new bad behind. I don't want to use too many cuss words. Bad behind character, badass character that's coming out in the next book as well. So all this stuff is building up. Like with the first Deuces R Wild, we got to see towards like the middle. So the rest of the next two episodes, which I'll go ahead and give you a sneak peek of. The next two episodes will be telling how did he get from point C through point A and B. So you're going to C before you get to D, but you gotta go through A and B first. So that's where we're getting to right now. This right here is going to be more the origin story in episode 2.
Good deal. Well, good luck. I'm definitely looking forward to it. The first book was awesome.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, Don, man. Thank you for having me out here, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend out there in Jersey, man.